Michelle, I'm pleased to see you today. I was actually had the privilege of being at the carpet for the premiere at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival.
Great. That was a wonderful evening.
It was a lovely evening. I got to talk to some of the cast, including the hot Andy Garcia en español.
Hablo español también.
Oh, también internacional. So, like, now you're the director of Miranda's Victim. And can you talk a little bit about, the title, Miranda's Victim, but yet it's about the relevance and how everything happened with Miranda's rights?
Right. And people think that Miranda, they should rename, a lot of people say they should rename it because you think that Miranda is the victim. In fact, there's the real victim, which is Patricia Weir, who kept her story private for over 60 years and finally agreed because George Colbert went to look for her and asked the question, what happened to the victim? And he searched her out and got her to agree to tell her story, even though she really didn't want to be in the public eye. She didn't want to know that, it's her story.
And it was tough times. I mean, this was what, 1963, all the way to 1976.
Yeah, exactly. And then it spanned all the way to the death of Miranda, which is 1975. And back then, listen, today, there's a reason why when that postscript plays, and since we did Santa Barbara, we did the festival circuit, a lot of different festivals. It's been really incredible to watch it with an audience. And there's always been an audible reaction to the postscript when they say 1,000 crimes, five get convictions. So I think that there was a reason why the Me Too movement happened. And it was hard 60 years ago to come forth with a story of sexual assault. It's hard today. Um, it's hard. It's a difficult thing to decide to do is to tell the truth.
Can we talk about portraying the braveness um, of Trish in this film and at the same time directing that, bringing out that vulnerable side?
I mean, I really felt that it was important that we understood her and we felt her viscerally and we, understood what she had to go through to not just go to court once and get a conviction, but then to do it again. And that was a beautiful moment that I used when, Abigail Breslin, who's so incredible in this role, is really happy at the end of the first court case when she thinks, well, he's convicted. That's it. It's over. And then it's not over. And then it gets overturned by the Supreme Court and she's got to go back and she's got to relive it and she has to, face her family. Um, but I really wanted for us as an audience watching how the story unfolded to really be with her, to feel her journey and her obstacles and her courage.
What was it like to find the perfect person to play Ernesto Miranda? Because, I mean, it is about Trish and her story, but it's also about him and how everything played out.
That took a little work. I wanted, as much as I felt that because of a lot of the, historical people in the cast, had this gravitas that it needed to be played by actors that were well known and had, that gravitas to bring to the part. When it came to casting him, I wanted him to not be someone that was recognizable with a lot of other iconic roles. Also, he was, Ernesto Miranda was 26. And so I went on a search and then looked at a lot of tapes, didn't do it in person because still during COVID over a year ago. Um, and saw this actor, Sebastian, and he was on vacation in Fiji. And I said, well, it's time sensitive. We need to Zoom. And worked with him and really felt that he was the right actor. He had the right, feel. And it wasn't until I cast him that I realized side by side that he, bared a resemblance, a strong resemblance to Ernesto Miranda, who's an attractive guy, which is actually, also great for the story because, rapists don't, are also attractive. And it was, I worked with him, I rehearsed him. He's really a wonderful actor, and he was brave as well.
This phenomenal cast. I mean, you have, I mean, I've mentioned Andy Garcia already, but you have like actors that I imagine they didn't hesitate to sign on for such a passionate project because we're talking history.
Yes, I think that that helped. I think it starts with the story, and then, obviously they wanted to feel comfortable that it was going to be in good hands and the story was going to be told right. So, for instance, when it came to Andy Garcia, I think he checked me out and he asked about me, and then we zoomed, and it worked out. He's a great actor, and I said at there was Q&A from Santa Barbara, and it turned out I always had a crush my whole life on Andy Garcia, and he smiled. Um, yeah, I mean, everybody else, Donald Sutherland was the first actor that said yes. And at that point, I was like, oh, okay, because Donald Sutherland has always been one of my favorite actors because he reminded me so very much of my father. And so I was like, all right, my father's no longer on this earth, but I said he's here, he's overlooking this. And then Enrique Murciano was a student of mine from a very long time ago. I've cast him in his first movie and my first movie. And then after that, he started to work nonstop. Every time I wanted to cast him, he was always busy. So this time too, we called his agent, like, nope, not available. So I called Enrique. I said, Enrique, I want you to play a part in this movie. And he's like, he was working in Vancouver. He said, I'll have them kill me off. I'll come do it. So he came, and Abby, I had a lot of other actresses on my desk, and I heard that voice say, just stop screwing around, just cast a real actress that's got, the chops to do this. And so I'm really glad that I came to that conclusion. And it happened right away. I sent her the script, and within a day we met, and it was a done deal. Um, and then I've always loved Mireille Enos. She was, and Brent Sexton, because I've watched the show The Killing, and many other things. And so I was able to get them to come do it. And Josh Bowman and Emily VanCamp and Dan Lauria I've known for many years. And Nolan Gould, we've all watched them grow up in front of our eyes.
Mhm.
Of course, I've watched Orange is the New Black with Taryn Manning and Ryan Phillippe and Luke Wilson. I'm probably forgetting somebody because it is a big cast of Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
We Kyle MacLachlan, obviously. And so, I feel like I'm forgetting somebody pivotal. But in any event, yeah, I was able to get this fantastic cast. They came, all of them, with open hearts and a desire to be part of telling this important story.
Which part of the film would you say was challenging? The last
The
part?
last day of the shoot, because we had to shoot the rape that day. We waited to shoot the rape the last day. Don't ask me why, but that's how it fell. And we had lost some, time because there were thunderstorms in New Jersey in June. And so we had to go back to the bus stop. And
Mhm.
so I had allocated a full day to the rape. And now I only had half a day to shoot it. And I knew that I had a problem because it was the last day of the shoot. We couldn't get anybody back. And so I walked on set and I told my first AD, he loves me to tell this story. My first AD and my director of photography, both wonderful, people and artists. I said, we're gonna shoot 27 setups today because if not, I'm not gonna get the movie and I'm not gonna get the shots that I need. And they both told me I was insane, and they both told me it was not gonna happen. And I said, watch me. And I had a plan. And and it was really an odd day. I said, we're going to be out of this first location of the bus stop, the one that I hadn't planned on going to, by 11:30 p.m. At 11:25 p.m., I was missing a shot of the police car following the period car on that street, and I needed it. I could not go back there. And I just was very strong. I was like, here, move here, do this, do that. Boom, I got it in one shot. We stopped exactly at 11:30 p.m. We moved, what it's like on a movie set when you have to, like, a company move to another location. It's a nightmare. So I knew we are going to incur, probably meal penalties and all kinds of, but we didn't. We, with no meal, no, we got into the desert, which was on the edge of the ocean. And so my DP is like, we're never going to get this. It's not going to happen. because the light's going to come up at 4:30 p.m. a.m. 4:30 a.m. And I said, nope, we're going to black out the windows. I'm going in the car, handheld, and we're going to do it. I was like determined. I mean, I like had a plan. And we ended up exactly shooting at 5:30 a.m. on the ocean as light came up. It was apocalyptic. It was a wrap. Everybody in the cast came out from the trailers, and I had rented a house on the water, and I had told my housekeeper I'll be back at 7 a.m. And I was back exactly at 7 a.m. And we ended up shooting exactly at 5:30. It was an eerie day, but very challenging. 'Cause everybody told me you're insane. You're never getting 27 setups today. It's not going to happen. And I got them all. That was probably the most challenging.
You're definitely determined when you put your head into it.
Yes.
That's why you're making films.
Yeah, I was definitely, that was a good, I'll remember that, let's just say. And it was really weird because earlier in the day I was swimming and this bird came perched on the ramp. Uh, and I looked at the bird and I said, how am I going to get 27 setups today? And I looked at the bird and I was like, I think I need some help somewhere. But it worked out, thank God.
Obviously, that was one of your challenges because of time. But what was it like to direct the scenes where, I mean, these were long scenes of dialogue while they're playing in the courthouse.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was challenging. I certainly thought about it. I storyboarded some of it. Um, because I wanted to keep it compelling. I wanted to keep it interesting. I wanted people to be engaged all throughout. So, and I think that and actors were very appreciative of all the notes that I gave. uh, Everybody responded really quickly, and they were like, "Oh, this is great!" Like, I was like, "Oh, 100% of these actors are taking 100% of my notes. I kind of like this." It was a great experience. Listen, it was a great experience. It was. I mean, now since I've shot Miranda's Victim, I shot another movie called The Italians, and I also had another fantastic experience. So I'm thinking I'm on a roll now. We'll see what happens next. But Miranda's Victim was nothing short. I mean, we all knew we were telling the story, and it was a good story. And I fought to tell the story that I wanted. I was lucky, let's just put it that way. I got to cast who I wanted to cast. I got to tell the story that I wanted to tell. Um, because a lot of people said, you have to stop it when she comes out of the courtroom, but I didn't want to because I thought the full story of this story is about karmic justice. At the end, he did get his finger chopped off by the guard. This happened. He got out 8 years later, not 20 years later, but karma is a bitch. So there is karmic justice after all. And that's the story that I wanted to tell. And I got a chance to tell it.
You told the story based also on Ernesto's life, how it concluded. And
Right. But life got him. He met his fate in that seedy bar playing poker that night.
Mhm.
Life got him. I mean, he was a serial rapist. I mean, that's who he was. Even though, it said he had a job and he could get women and, he had a child. But that's who he was. And if you read, I did read about his life and his childhood. He came from a horrible childhood. The parents were alcoholic. They beat him. I mean, but, not everybody that has a terrible childhood becomes a serial rapist. I told this story also not taking any sides. I didn't take any sides with the Miranda rights. I just want people to draw their own conclusions, right? That was important to me. I think Miranda was a complex character, and there was something, what's the word I'm looking for? He's charismatic. There's something, it's like Ted Bundy, Ted Bundy's charismatic. And I always love that moment in the courtroom with Ted Bundy when the judge says, you could have been a contender. You could have been the one arguing this case. You could have really done something with your life. I've always loved that because, if people take different paths, there's, you could have done something else. You could have taken a different path. You could have been a better person. And that's why I love the moment in the movie when she says, and it's a real thing. She says, "I did pray for you." She said it. It was a moment.
I imagine that you have been in touch with Trish.
Yeah, I was just with her last week. We had an event, an East Coast premiere event, and there was a moment that I'll never forget. I walked her out at the very end. Actors were there, and it was like a Q&A moderated by Rain. um, Scott, who's the president of Rain, and I came out with Patricia, and 700 people got up and applauded, and for a while, and that was a moment that I know was a moment for her, and it emotionalized her quite a lot.
Mhm.
And she
Well,
saw the movie. She loves the movie. She has a little cameo in the movie. She's in the wedding scene. Josh Bowman, who plays Charles, the husband, when they come out of the church, he leans over and he kisses her on the cheek.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So she was present during some filming.
Yeah, she came that day. She came.
How did it feel for you?
It was great. It was great to have her there. I mean, she's a very brave woman. And I understood talking to her and talking to her again because we're going to do the morning show next week together. I understood that why she did it. She really did not want him to get away with it. And he had hurt her so much.
And having all the odds against her, I mean, even the mom, that wasn't encouraging. Like she would become damaged goods.
Well, that was the reality, I think, that Mireille and us portrayed beautifully the complexities, of being a mother wanting to protect your child, loving your child so much in that era in 1963, and understanding what's the reality, and also revealing that it happened to her as well. Because I mean, this is the thing, so many women in the festival circuit have come up to me, and they've said to me, this happened to me, and this movie is healing, and it's inspirational, and thank you for making it. And a lot of women have, I mean, I remember being at a dinner party a decade ago, and we went around, there were about 12 women there. Everybody had a story of sexual abuse, you know not maybe rape, but sexual assault. And then this woman came up to me this weekend and she said, many women have been sexually assaulted, many women. So that is a truth. And the other truth is the postscript at the end, that out of 1,000 crimes that are committed, only 5 get convicted. That's another truth. So, yeah, there was a reason why the Me Too movement, came about.
Mhm.
A lot of crimes that are left unpunished, a lot of bad behavior from powerful men. Um, it's a violent crime that people get away with.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate talking to you, and I'm glad that this is coming, very soon for everybody. This Friday,
Yeah,
right?
2 days away. It's
Just days away.
yeah.